morning, everybody. Thursday, November 19th, the morning of. Some of you might have seen this press release that we put out this morning on War Eagle. Some spectacular high-grade results to follow up on last year's spectacular success from this area as a follow-up. But just to kind of start you off in terms of situating you geographically, this is that district of southwestern Idaho called Delamar. This is the Delamar deposit proper. Right there, about 3.3 million ounces of total gold equivalent resources in the ground at all categories. Please refer to our website if you want the breakdown of those resources. Florida Mountain sits there, 1.1 million ounces of total gold equivalent resources in the ground. Again, refer to our website for the total breakdown. This district or area that we're talking about this morning is War Eagle, which sits about 4 kilometers in a straight line to the southeast of Florida Mountain. And this is an area that is really interesting from a historical perspective. The Silver City district wouldn't be the Silver City district without War Eagle, in fact. And this is an area where really the high-grade magic kicked off back in the 1800s, 1863 to be specific, when a number of high-grade discoveries were made in this area. A number of really high-grade veins. I'll just read off some of these production stats from some of these resources that were mined underground. So there's one vein called the Orofino vein. The Orofino mine in particular, they extracted 10,766 tons at 1.04 ounces of gold per ton. So that's over 30 grams per ton average. That's some seriously high-grade gold underground. The Poor Man mine, another big vein, 21,252 tons of material that was mined at an average grade of 1.97 ounces per ton of gold. Again, really spectacular grades. And then the Never Sweat mine, 6,000 tons of material grading 2.42 ounces per ton gold. So you get the picture. Some extremely high grades of gold were mined in this district. And by 1875, in fact, there were 10 shafts in this area, just to show you kind of the activity that this created. It was because of this rush, gold rush that was created by War Eagle to this area, that the population of Silver City, in fact, ballooned to over 4,000 residents. So a pretty prominent discovery in this area, with some serious high grade. So just to kind of situate you from a lay of the land perspective, again, looking top down on War Eagle itself, this is the gold and soil geochem patterns that we've been chasing. Obviously, a few dominant trends that exist here for us to test. And we didn't start from scratch on this one. We bought this project, or we acquired this project a few years ago with some data that came with it, specifically some data that came from the late 1980s, early 1990s. And you can see for yourself some really spectacular intercepts were obtained from some of this drilling back in the day. 28.9 meters, grading 9.8 grams per ton gold, 110 grams per ton silver. And you can see there's some, within this wide intercept, there's some very individual, extremely high grades of gold and silver that were obtained. So we weren't starting from scratch there. So what we did in 2019 is we followed up on these results, stepping out marginally from this area to see what was there. And we obtained our own series of really spectacular results. Some of you might recall what we released in December of 2019. Well, this is kind of, here it is right there. I'm going to zoom into that and show you in a bit more detail. 34.14 meters, grading 10.88 grams per ton gold, 115.31 grams per ton silver. And again, within that large intercept, there are some spectacular individual grades, 4.27 meters at 73.62 grams per ton gold, some pretty serious grades of gold there. So what we saw in last year's drilling was very definitely evidence of, a high grade plunging chute, which was right there. And we still have yet to drill it at depth, but that's some of the plans for next year. But you can see kind of the flavor of some of the intercepts that we got in 2019. Well, what we put out this morning was a follow-up to that, where we stepped out marginally from what we drilled last year, just in order to obtain some gross geometries. And we looked at other parts of the soil geochem anomaly along the structure. So what we're really seeing there is, again, this north-northwest striking dominant trend or structural corridor in which there are individual shoots of high grade that might have a strike length of 100 to 150 meters odd, and that's very consistent with what we're seeing in the data from past mining. So these are some of the results that we put out as a means of follow-up this year. You can see for yourself there's some spectacular high grade intercepts there, 7.62 meters, grading 24.20 grams per ton gold, 655.06 grams per ton silver. So you get the flavor. This is a system which is really starting to kind of come together. And I'm just going to zoom out there and show you a bit about what's kind of going on here. Something pretty interesting is going on. So let's just put north being in that direction. And basically the top or the surface would be somewhere about there. And so what we're looking at is something that is several hundred meters of strike length between some of these hits. And what we're seeing here is the development of obviously a shoot of high grade plunging mineralization, gold, silver, that's there. And very definitely another one in a big step out several hundred meters north of there, which sits up here. So we've got basically another high grade plunging shoot right there. We were too late to put in these results and to verify for the last holes that came in, but again, some very high grade intercepts here. Refer to the press releases 15 and 16. So we've got the development of maybe another shoot here, who knows? But very definitely what we have is a minimum of 2, maybe 3 shoots over a strike length of several hundred meters now. So this model is starting to come together where we've got these cross-cutting structures. We've got the focus of gold and silver mineralization on those. So very obviously to us, these zones are open at depth, and in fact, we're really keen to start testing them deeper into the granites because it's really in the granites where the magic happened for the miners back in the day. The highest grades of gold were mined out of these granites, and we're not in them yet. So we're just seeing sort of the top parts of these structures, and perhaps they get better at depth. On strike to the south and on strike to the north, obviously wide open for more of these plunging shoots, and we'll be getting to that next year. Just to kind of clue you in on what we have planned, generally speaking for next year, it's more of the same, essentially. More development of this model of north-northwest striking structures that are cross-cut by east-west structures, focusing fluids, and looking at some of those. So we'll be following up on a lot of that data next year. In addition to that, we'll be doing some IP work, some lines of IP. For those of you who follow us, IP induced polarization is a means of geophysics that really works well in this district. It really picks up sulfide mineralization, does a good job at picking up the clay alteration that comes with some of these veins and vein systems that you see here. So we'll be doing some of that next year, and we'll be following up with more drilling to come. That's about it. Appreciate you guys listening, and we'll see you soon.